Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very good day to all of you. I believe that everyone having a very wonderful time staying at home. Right, today I'm going to give you the lecture on sustainability management. I think in today's current global context, it is very important. It is definitely very important to know about the sustainability of the world or the sustainability management. And if you talk about very recent incident throughout the whole world, the coronavirus, obviously one thing you can understand that we have to sustain. And if you want to sustain to some context or some extent, you have to believe that you cannot sustain by yourself. So you have to take everyone, every single element of the globe to live together and to have a very sustainable environment for your safety and for your future generations' safety. Now, it is very hard to actually give you the overall idea of the sustainability management because sustainability management is a huge topic. It is in some of the first world countries, universities, sustainability management offered as a course. And more interestingly, in some universities in abroad, they are offering a master's degree on sustainability management so that you can understand the importance of the sustainability management. So I'm going to start with this. First of all, I'd like to start with the definition of the sustainability management. So if you look at the slide, I believe that every one of you has already got this slide. So if you open your slide, so you can actually go with the piece of mind. So what's sustainability? Let's see the first definition of sustainability. It says the ability of humanity to ensure that it meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So what do you basically understand from this? So it says that it's the ability of humanity. You have to make sure that you meet your needs and what your requirement is. You have to sustain, you have to live. But obviously, you have to make sure that you are not compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs. So we cannot actually use all of the resources by ourselves, but you have to make sure that we keep some resources for the future generations so that they can sustain. So if you look at the another definition of the sustainability, it says the preservation of productive capacity of the foreseeable future. So if you look at these two words, preservation of productive capacity, so you have to make sure that you have to preserve the capacity of the production for upcoming or the future generations or foreseeable the future, right? So if I'm going to show you another definition, it says biological sustainability means maintaining or improving the integrity of the life support of the earth. So this particular definition actually points to the environment. This particular definition is actually telling us that you have to make sure that you have enough support for the earth to be sustainable. So now if I want to comprise, if I want to compile all three definitions of the sustainability, for the first one, that is for the people, that is for the upcoming generation. Second one, obviously talking about some kind of business, because you have to make sure that the productive capacity for the future. And also, if you look at the third one, it is talking about the earth. So if I want to again compile the three definitions of the sustainability management, so you have to think about yourself, you have to think about the people, you have to think about obviously the business organization, so that the upcoming people can have something to do or to work with, and obviously most importantly you have to make sure that you're taking good care of the earth. All right. Now, I want to start this slide with the question of, are there limits to the growth? Is there any limitations of the growth? Because we really don't know what the growth will end. Because at the moment, if you think about the current decade, well, you can see the technology is going really up and high. And obviously, we are coping up with the technology, and the whole world is actually growing. Even our country, Bangladesh, now becoming the developing country from the least developed country. So if you think about this, so obviously all of us are going together to the growth. But the question is, are there limits of the growth? What is the end of the growth? Right, now, if you look at the slide, it says the population grows exponentially. So it grows quite frequently. Okay, it is actually growing in geometric calculations. So it is growing exponentially, but food production grows linearly because we have limited capacity, we have got limited resources. So that's exactly why food production grows linearly. So it's very not very steep. It's a kind of the lean thing that whenever the time actually goes, the production also grows, but obviously it's not exponential, it is linear. Now, population growth ceases when the incremental person doesn't have resources to survive. So when the population growth will be ceased, when there will be no population growth in the world, when this particular person doesn't have any kind of resources to survive, only then the population growth will be ceased. So what this particular point actually gives you the understanding that is you have to have resources to survive, and that's what the sustainability comes. All right. Overpopulation is the problem, no doubt about that. So we definitely know that overpopulation is is a problem to the global world. And if you look at the second clause, it says that depleting soils and disturbing natural life support ecosystem. So obviously we'll grow the people, but this particular overpopulation definitely impact negatively on the soils and also also disturbing the natural life of the ecosystem. Now the question: how many people can Earth support? How many people can Earth support? Right. So again, the question I'm going to ask you: how many people can Earth support? Can anyone give me the idea? How many people can live on the Earth at the same time? What is the current population of the current of the world right now? Around 6 billion or 7 billion. Let's see what the answer of this particular question is. Right. Maybe a trillion, but it's a joke, okay? More likely 16 billion people. So still the Earth can support another 10 or odd million people, whatever the resources they have currently or the world has currently. Right. Now, the objective of the sustainability management. What is the main objective of the sustainability management? So if you look at the slide, it says that true sustainability requires finding balance among four main objectives. So you have to make sure that you make balance of the four objectives. So what is the first one? It says social progress that takes into account the needs of everyone. So obviously, what I said, you have to make a balance. And how are you going to make the balance? You have to make sure the social progress, obviously the society is growing up, but you have to make sure that you take each and every person who is living in the society into your consideration. So you have to make a balance. The society is actually going up, along with that everyone who is actually living in the society or the part of the society has to go along with the society's progress. Second one, protection of the natural environment. So whatever I said previously, that you have to make sure that you protect the natural environment, because without a healthy environment, we cannot actually sustain. The global warming plays a very important role nowadays. Okay, and that's exactly why you have to make sure that you are protecting the natural environment. So if you look at the third one, it says that careful and considered use of the natural resources. There is no doubt about that each and every activity of the human being has some kind of use of the natural resources. With the help of the natural resources, we cannot actually do anything. But you have to make sure that you're using the natural resources in a very careful way and also in a very considerable way. Right, the last one, it says steady and increasing levels of economic growth and the employment. So here comes the employment opportunities. So if you want to sustain, or if you want to sustain in the society, if you want to sustain in the current trend of the globalization, you have to make sure that you have steady and increasing level of economic growth and the employment. So your economy has to grow up, and along with that, you have to create the employment opportunity for upcoming future generations so that they can survive by doing some productive activities throughout the whole world. Right. Now, Bangladesh and sustainability. It's a very important thing to know about the what sustainability measurements we are actually following in terms of our country. And Bangladesh has got a very structured and very considerable sustainability strategy. So if you look at this particular slide, it says the sustainability strategy of Bangladesh. I believe that most of our students do not know that Bangladesh has got sufficient and very up-to-date and very up-to-date and also very important sustainable strategy for our country. So I'm not going to actually go through each and every point of the sustainability strategy of Bangladesh. I just leave this one up to your personal reading, but I really encourage you, all of you, to go through this particular strategy so that you can understand what the Bangladesh government, what the current government or the people of the Bangladesh want in terms of the sustainability. So if you look at the first one, it says long-term economic growth. So the most important thing in terms of the sustainability strategy of Bangladesh is the long-term economic growth. And obviously you can understand that a lot of our government officials are not talking about SDGs and some visions about 2030. So, and this is totally depending on the long-term economic health. Second one, equity and human rights. Obviously, you have to have equal share of everything in the society. It is not possible, obviously, we know that, but you have to actually give their their valued share or their required share in terms of the sustainability management and also the human rights. Okay, we all know about the human rights. So you have to make sure that you are giving proper human rights to the people of our country with equity. Right. Third one, biodiversity and the ecological integrity. All life has instinctive value. So each and every element of the world is actually working for the human being. So if you really think that a small pieces or a small element is not going to help you, this is a very wrong idea. Our human beings are actually being supported by each and every element which has been created throughout the whole world so far. All right. Settlement efficiency and the quality of life. So I believe that each and every class, or most of the classes, I actually told you what is the difference between effectiveness and efficiency. So if you want to make your skill up, you have to be very much efficient in terms of this, in terms of any kind of global growth. So you have to have a very good settlement about the efficiency and also the quality of life. So this is very important, because if you look at the first world countries, okay, there is only two classes of people. One is rich and another one is the middle class socioeconomic status holders. So there is only two. So obviously in the society you will have the rich people, but most of the people has to have a very standard life. This is what we call the quality of life, because if you are not living a healthy life, you cannot actually be sustained. And this is what we call, this is what actually been integrated in the sustainability strategy of Bangladesh. So there are three other strategies I want to focus on. That says the community. Community plays very important role, no doubt about it, because this community reflects the overall culture, overall behavior, and also the history of a nation. Then regions, the particular regions we are living, and also the sense of places and the heritage. So you have to belong to your heritage, because if you do not keep your heritage up, you cannot see the sustained or the development of any country. Now, I think this is also one of the most important things that says net benefit from the development. Obviously, you have to develop it. You have to make sure that whatever development we are actually doing right now, it has to be some kind of benefit out of it, because without the enough amount of benefit, there is no point of the development, because work is not non-profit organizations. Everyone is looking for the profit, and whenever we actually invest something, you have to make sure that you have enough amount of benefit from the development. The last one, common good from the planning. So whatever planning we are actually doing at the moment, it has to make sure that it take each and everyone's consideration, each and everyone's interest consideration in terms of their interest and also in terms of their good value. Right, now I'm going to show you what the sustainable development means. So if you look at this particular diagram, okay, there is three sectors what we normally been focused on. One is we call the natural and physical science, another one is the technology and microeconomics, and the third one the social issue and the macroeconomics. So let's see what we're actually getting out of this. The first one, it's talking about the ecological system. The second one is also talking about the economic system, and the third one is obviously talking about the social system. So if you know about the Venn diagram of the state mathematics, so you can definitely understand this particular point. So actually all three of those, and this is where the sustainability development or sustainable development lies on. Right. So this is the particular slide which I actually got from some of the journals. So the website of this particular journal actually been given on them. So I really encourage all of you to actually go through this, because from this particular thing we find out the previous slides diagram. Now, triple bottom line. Now we come to the business. What triple bottom line means. So if you look at the triple bottom line means key sustainability, the concept of the triple bottom line means that business success is no longer defined only by the monetary gain, but also by the impact an organization activities have on the society as a whole. So I want to say, please provide much concentration on this particular point, that it says the concept of the triple bottom line means the business success is now no longer defined by only by the monetary gain, but also the impact of organization's activity as a whole in the society. So now you have to make sure that if you want to be a sustainable business organizations in the current world, you have to make sure that you are taking care of all the stakeholders rather than the shareholders. So where I actually come from, the Holiday, Staten, and Philip walking the walk, the business case for sustainable development, they what says movement towards corporate concern for the triple bottom line: financial, social, and environmental performances. So you have to make sure that you have all three into your consideration. That is the financial, social, and also the environmental performance of the current business, what they are actually practicing in terms of product orientation, or in terms of the product production or service providation. So if you want to be a triple bottom line business organization, so you have to focus on these three aspects. Right. So, as I told you before, triple bottom line demands that company responsibility to be the stakeholders rather than the shareholders. Now, who are the stakeholders? Stakeholders include anyone who might be affected by companies or industries practices. It's starting from the worker to the wider community, the consumer, and each and every person who is actually being involved in the in the business organization's perspective. Now, what it says, if I'm going to go through again this particular sentence, it says the triple bottom line demands that a company's responsibility to be stakeholders rather than shareholders. Stakeholders include anyone who might be affected by a company's or industry's practice, from workers to the surrounding communities and beyond it. It involves the careful consideration of three things. First one, it calls the vibrant communities, which actually indicates the people. An organization has a responsibility to its employees and to the wider communities in which it works. So triple bottom line companies understands how its practices affect the corporation, its workers, and the wider stakeholders, and also it works to promote all of their best interest. And the second one, it says the healthy environment, which actually reflects the planet. Without question, committing a sustainable development practices is good business. Corporation can save money and also reduce their environmental footprints by reducing the waste, conserving energy, and maintaining environmental safe manufacturing processes there. So how we can, a business organization can take care of the planet so that they can actually keep a very good understanding about the procedure, the production planning, or the output of the particular organizations which has been done by the environmental friendly procedure, and which can actually reduce some waste and the carbon footprints to our global environment. The last one is obviously strong profitability, which indicates the profit. There is no doubt about that. Business organizations' main objective is to gain profit or minimizing the cost. So obviously, clearly making money is essential to the business success. A triple bottom line company, however, recognizes that its own sustainability rests on its ability to work harmoniously in social and environmental settings. For this reason, the cost of pollution, worker displacement, and other factors are included in profit calculation nowadays. So in previously, when the organizations actually do their accounting, all the time they actually put the incentive as a cost. But nowadays, the incentives has been declared as investment has been declared as the not the cost. It is actually the investment to the organization, so that the employee can give their 100% efficiency to the organization for producing product or providing the service. So this is the end of the sustainability management lecture. As I told you before, it is very hard to give an overall idea about the sustainability management because the depth of this particular topic is actually huge. But what I wanted to show you the very basic idea regarding the sustainability management, because I believe that I wanted to give you an assignment to restructure a service, but the theme will be sustainability management, so that you can process all of the works of the organizations through an environmental friendly procedure. So I want to conclude my lecture before my conclusion of the lecture. I wanted to give thanks to some people. I just wanted to give thanks to my mom and dad, my lovely wife, and my kids, my kid obviously, to help me to record this particular lecture, because without their help, I couldn't be able to record this lecture for you. So thank you, and I wish I'll see you soon, and also I'll be coming with the next topics on next lectures in upcoming days. Thank you guys, and have a very safe life. Thank you.